Hey everyone, welcome to my tiny house. We're gonna start on the outside and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of explanation on what's going on here, not only with the tiny house, but with this channel. I do a lot of tours. If you've been following me a while, I appreciate it, but I do a lot of van tours, I'm doing some tiny home tours, and I'll get into other tours of unique living eventually when I start traveling some more. On top of all that, I also do a vlog. I try to do at least one vlog per week. I've been taking the last few months off because I wanted a little bit of a reset. But I do a vlog on whether I travel or a lot of my building stuff that I do. Right now I'm doing a collaboration van build with a van company out of San Diego. There's just a whole bunch of different vlogging, you know, throughout the whole entire year. Now with that said, I really do appreciate and love doing tours of people's tiny houses or even vans because I feel like I educate people on what can be done, what should be done, how things are done, why things are done, etc., etc., etc. On this channel, I also am about to start a podcast that is called They Just Don't Get It. There's a separate playlist for They Just Don't Get It, and it's about really things about people not getting it, myself included. There's a lot of things out there that I don't get. But that's not why you guys tune into this video. You tune into this video because you want to know about this tiny house that's behind me. I designed and built it all myself, and we're going to get into all of that. Now, if you want to watch the entire build process of this tiny house, I have a playlist of a start to finish, you know, tiny house build playlist. However, I also condensed it all into one video that you can watch the entire build from beginning to end. It's actually a really cool video. It's long, it's 50 minutes, but it's cool. This one is just going to be the tour of everything inside. I will also say at the top of this video that this tiny house is for sale. I decided to sell it. I've only lived in it about 6 months. I built and designed it for the purpose of living full-time. We're going to get more into that in my podcast on why I decided to, but all I will say here is life happens. Now, in a perfect world, yes, I would actually keep this as a, like, you know, vacation house or an Airbnb or something along those lines, and that's still on the table. But right now, this house is for sale. So the footprint of the tiny house, it is on a trailer, so there's wheels right there that are covered. It is 24 by a little over 8 feet wide, so 24 feet long, 8 feet wide, and 13 feet 5 inches height to the peak of the roof, and the roof is on a 2 to 12 pitch. The entire roof is covered with 3,200 watts of solar, a little bit over 3,200 watts. It's like 3,240. There are 8 solar panels on the roof, and they are 405 watts each. Now, I'll get into the electrical system when I go inside, and we'll kind of talk more about that, but at least you understand the entire roof is covered with solar panels. The roofing material itself is a standing seam metal roof. I went with an entire metal exterior, corrugated metal vertical, and I pre-ordered it green. I just love the color green on exterior. It kind of blends in with surroundings with all black trim. If I wasn't selling, I would obviously skirt the bottom of the tiny house. You'll see that a lot on other tiny houses. I also would probably build a nice little deck here on the outside, a pergola or some sort of overhang, and that'll actually work doubly because it will work as shade coming into the house. So I've got direct sunlight coming into these windows. We're going to talk a little bit more about that when I go inside. But because of the solar charge controller that is inside my electrical system, you should also know that I can double the amount of solar that is on my roof. So my intention was, when I first built this, was I can put this on a piece of property, or even a tiny house village for that matter, build this outside deck, preferably screened in, and I could put some sort of awning or pergola or something overhead, fill that with the same amount of panels up top because I can double that amount of solar power, and now I can really charge the 30 kilowatt hours of battery that are in this tiny house. Now for the exterior, that's pretty much it. I do have a diesel tank on the exterior because that is how my heating is done, and we'll get into that when I go inside. As you guys can see, there is snow around me. I'm kind of filming this towards the end of winter. It is a little bit chilly outside, so before I get any colder, let's go inside so we can talk more about the tiny house. Okay, now we're inside the tiny house, and just bear with me because I don't have a videographer with me. I am just using my tripod, and I'm gonna do a lot of overlay and B-roll for everybody throughout this entire video so you guys can really understand what I'm talking about. Now, the challenge with a 24 by 8 foot tiny house is really the layout and design and fitting everything that you possibly can into this small space. Now, I'm a big advocate of having open floor plans, open space. Everybody that has really stepped into the tiny house has always said to me, wow, this looks a lot bigger on the inside than it does on the outside. So how did I accomplish that? Now, the camera's actually sitting where the bathroom is, and we'll get to that at the end. We're gonna actually work our way around the entire tiny house. Before I do that, the layout had to do a lot with window placement. Now, you can see these windows up here that are what I call my north-facing windows, and then you see these elongated windows, and then that is actually put there to match the north-facing windows. However, I needed a mean of egress. This house is built by code. So what I was talking about on the exterior was having that awning or pergola or something that I would probably build here. Now, this is facing south because you can see behind me the roof line slopes down. It has that 2 to 12 pitch, and the solar panels are pointed that direction, making sure that this faces south, which it does. Now, I parked the tiny house in the northern hemisphere. The sun never goes past the northern point. It always stays on south. It rises in the east and sets in the west. But again, it never goes into the north side. Having an awning here would actually not only add solar panel, but it would also shade any direct sunlight coming in from these two larger elongated windows, as well as this window over here. Now, these north windows are important to me because they let in a ton of natural light. I got this idea from when I was a kid. I used to go to my dad's job site, and he was working on a museum called the Davis Museum. And they had these massive, looked like shark fins at the top of the museum. It's designed by a very famous architect, and I'm blanking on the name right now. I asked my dad, what is the point of that? And the entire museum was built as an atrium. The shark fins had glass on it, and they were all facing north. North-facing light. It let in a bunch of natural light into the museum, which was built as an atrium. That is important because museums can't have any direct sunlight coming into works of art because sun, UV, will damage artwork. So now you guys understand why I put the windows where they are. And I just think they're all 3x3, and all the windows are Anderson 100 series, so they're all vinyl. So obviously in a tiny house, you need a seating space. Whether you want to eat or maybe you want to get some work done, you just need some sort of eating space. There's a little bit over 4-foot bar with 2 seating areas. You can sit here and you have this beautiful view while you're sitting here. I have my laptop here. That's not even my main workstation. I just have it there for effect. This window is an operating sliding window, so you get nice, beautiful, fresh air coming in. And then this is a actual light that does work. It is 12 volt Edison bulbs, and this is the switch right here. It is a little, well, you can't really see it because it's daytime. However, it is it's really there just for aesthetics. It doesn't really serve any purpose of lighting. Probably can't see it because of the sunlight, but there is light that goes around the entire perimeter of the inside of the home. The switches are right here on the wall, and they're all on a dimmer switch. There, you guys can see that light. So as coming from the van world, I needed to create a space that could house storage as well as all of my electrical components. Now, the couch is a built-in couch or sofa. Now, a lot of tiny home builders do not do it this way. I did it this way because underneath are 2 massive ReLion batteries, 48 volt ReLion batteries. And that is what makes this house off-grid capable. Now, for everybody that's like, I don't want an off-grid house, guess what? You can plug this in. This is a very capable on or off grid. I've got a 30 amp shore power connector on the exterior that you plug in. Now, I went with 30 amp because most RV parks require only a 30 amp, plug or circuit or whatever. There are tiny house villages that have 50 amps. You actually can step down very easily by just buying a step down controller from 50 to 30. So that is why I went with a 30 amp. But this couch is obviously shaped like an L. These cushions are custom made, and originally I designed it so the cushion could go right in on this side. However, I usually just put it here because I just like to sit and I get to watch my TV right here. Underneath all of that, like I said, are the batteries, but there's a storage cabinet right here. It has one drawer, and then underneath that is part of the air conditioning unit that's extremely important. Right behind me right here is what everybody thinks is a closet, but it is actually my Murphy bed. This drops down. You do not have to move the cushions on top of the couch. You have to move the backrests, but it was designed to only move the backrest. That comes down and it sits on a lip that is right there. When the bed is down, I also made it so that I can also still slide by right here. This is the electrical cabinet. So we're gonna talk a lot about the electrical cabinet and what's inside and what's going down, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff in there. Let me bring the camera just a little bit closer for everybody. Now, I didn't clean up too much in the electrical cabinet as I should, but the electrical cabinet was professionally done by a good buddy of mine, Jason from Off Grid Solutions PDX. I originally had a grow watt inverter, but I had an issue right when I moved to property, and I'm glad that I switched it out. Now it is a Victron Quattro, I believe, right? Yeah, it's a Victron Quattro, and I should have just spent the money in the first place, but that's for a different day. These are all my AC breakers, and the 120 volt breakers. These are all the different 120 volts. All right, let's close this up. This is my mini loft. My biggest challenge was fitting a bedroom, a living room, an office space, full bathroom, as big of a kitchen as I could possibly do, seating for two, you know, all the components, air conditioning and heating and wiring and all that stuff, a TV, storage, you know, a washer dryer. I wanted to fit all of that into a 24-foot space. This was my way to separate the workspace. Now, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, it was important to me to create a space that I could just, you know, go up to instead of like moving 7 things around or even 3 things around to just get to work. Instead, I have this aluminum ladder that I hang on the side right here. Now, it is aluminum. I'm picking that up one-handed, okay? It hooks in with the hooks. Now, this was custom made, by the way. This was made by my friends over at the company Ross Monster. They're a van building company. So I can now climb up, sit comfortably in there. I have my computer that is actually Velcroed to the tabletop because I don't want it falling over. The views of the northern windows, and I can sit up there and I can watch snowfall like I did all winter. I can watch the leaves changing. I can have an office view. I am now separated from my house being up here. My office up here, with the ladder obviously just over, I know that I'm in office mode. Not only that, my dog knows that I'm in office mode. And she'll actually lie here on the couch and understand that, hey, Dad's working right now. I have the living room. I have the couch set up here. I have the TV set up here. I can be in lounge mode. I can be watching a sporting event or a movie or whatever it may be. And when the bed is down, I am now in bedroom mode. These are the things having a very small space, but I was able to fit 3 different spaces in just this area right here. And then for me, when I'm in bedroom mode, my overhead lights are off. I have different lighting because that will really separate my mood and my mind to know that I am now in bedroom mode. Obviously, I've seen very long counters inside of tiny houses, but I don't know if I have seen an 11-foot counter in a 24-foot tiny house. Why did I do it? There are so many reasons on why I did it. It is so necessary, unnecessary. Using the pipe decor, these are all mounted directly into the studs. I never really talked about the framing of it, but it is a metal frame done by Trailer Made Trailer. Actually, I did it. However, it's bought from Trailer Made Trailer. I went with a metal stud for lighter and also durability. If I move this house a couple times or 3 or 4, and it's obviously going to be doing that because I've moved it from where I built it up to land. Now I'm moving it over to my buddy's shop space while I try and sell it. It's going to go off to another person, but that person could either put it into a couple different locations. Maybe I move across the country and I Airbnb it, or maybe I move it to another. My options are unlimited because I use a metal frame. This metal frame will not wear and tear like a wood frame would do. For me, that was important, as well as weight. I was trying to be weight conscious during this whole thing. So there's metal studs and it's all spray foam insulated. All of these pipes are actually mounted right onto the wall. The TV is mounted directly onto a stud, so that sucker ain't moving. Countertop is Corian. I bought this from Home Depot, ordered it, they came out, they measured it, they spec'd it, bada bing, bada boom. I now have an 11-foot Corian countertop. All of the drawers are push to open. So you just push it and it opens up. What about your cooking apparatus? Okay, well, I have 2 different cooking apparatuses. Because I've lived in several different small spaces, I have learned that I felt better having portable cooktops, just the tops. Portable cooktop are in one of these drawers. I pull it out and now I have an induction cooker. Maybe I want an Instapot. Maybe you want an air fryer. Now, I'm gonna get into why I don't have any of those, but I have a cooktop that I put on top. I'm not married to having a cutout in my counter take away this massive amount of prep space. You can never have enough counter space, let's face it, okay? Which leads me over to what my main cooking apparatus is, which is the Brava oven. The Brava oven, I have the glass version. It has been a phenomenal piece for me because I'm not the best at cooking. Let's face it, I just don't know how to cook. However, that thing has about 10,000 or 9,000 pre-programmed recipes. You just find out what you're cooking. You can multi-cook, or like it's zoned cooking. So I can cook protein, whether it's like a meat, and then you can also cook asparagus, or you can cook broccoli, and then you can also cook a potato. You cook all 3 of those at once. My refrigerator is an isotherm. So we're going back to that 12-volt versus your plug-in style refrigerator. I went with that is actually a marine refrigerator. You see these a lot on yachts or boats. And then obviously all the way in the back is a sink, large sink for everything, but let's move the camera this way so we can continue on with the tour. Now, before I go into the bathroom that is behind me, talk about what's above me, which again, the ladder hooks right up into this piping as well. Again, you can obviously see the decor that I went with a pipe all the way around the entire house, but those hooks will just hook right onto that and you go right up there. This was designed as a flex room. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I just knew I wanted a bathroom and I wanted space above, whether I have another person that wants to sleep over, they can now sleep up there. It's all carpeted. But really, I just use it for storage. I used it for tool storage, and if I was to keep the house, I probably would get a bunch of canvas bags, really nice, pretty canvas bags, and I'd be able to store maybe more clothing up there. Regardless, that space up there is really designed to be a flex space. Now, I said I was gonna talk about the walls. The walls are done by a company called Wall Theory. When I designed this space, I wanted it to be a loft feeling to it. So I went out, I was gonna make my own fake concrete. However, I found this company out of Canada. They're called Wall Theory. It is on the more expensive side. However, it is super, super lightweight. 2-foot by 4-foot panel is like 7 pounds. I don't even think it's that heavy. I want to say maybe 4 pounds. They're super, super lightweight. I went with the 1/2-inch fake concrete, and then I went with the 1/2-inch fake brick. Faux concrete, whatever you want to say. And it really, I'll actually move the camera right now. The texture, you might not be able to see it with this lighting, and maybe I'll get some B-roll, but there is a light that is behind my shelving, and I just turned it on for you. But you might be able to see the texture now that is really behind that. You know, that lighting really accentuates the texture of it. But all right, let's step into the bathroom, which is going to be really hard to show without a videographer. All right, we're going old school vlog style because it's really hard to fit a tripod and me in here. It was not one of my favorite rooms when I finished the build. However, I did a lot of renovations to it to make it where it was today. So before you enter the bathroom, I have a sliding door that is actually doubles as a chalkboard, and it's framed in maple. I originally had the washer dryer elevated to where these canvas bags are, and then down below I had a shelf. I switched all that up. So now I have the washer dryer dropped, and I have these cool, nice canvas bags that are double as storage for everything. I have cleaning supplies, I have, you know, toiletry stuff in there, stuff for the Laveo dry flush, which is my toilet that's in here. I just have a bunch of storage in here. Then this is a medicine cabinet, obviously. Then there's obviously the vanity back over here. Now, this doubles as an access point because I have a fake wall here that is about 8 inches off the outside wall. It acts as a cavity for all of the plumbing, whether it's for my sink or this sink over here or my washer dryer. And all of that is inside to be freeze preventive. So none of this froze in the winter that I just went through in the state of Maine. A lot of that had to do with the heating. Now I told you guys I was going to talk about the heating, so I will talk about that after I'm done showing the bathroom off. So this is the vanity. This is a mirror, obviously, but this is another access point that can actually get behind that fake wall. And the last access point behind all of this is open. So if I want to get into where the piping is for the downspout, or like I said, any of the other piping, the water pump is back there. You can just move this out of the way and you can get into anything to access anything. The shower, it is on a very low profile pan. That drains right separately than the other drains do. So the overhead shower, plenty of room. I got a wand there, and then down below the vanity is my water tank. So I'll actually illuminate the water tank. That's what that switch does. And you might be able to see I've got my water level, which is about right there. This is a 100-gallon water tank. Frost protection on filling it because I went with an Anchor, I think is how you say it. Anchor water fill, and the way that it's done is all frost protected. Finishing off the bathroom space is where the toilet lives. Part of being off grid, you need some sort of maybe a composting toilet. I went with a Laveo dry flush. I also have, for the potential buyer that maybe wants this, I have both if you want, the Laveo dry flush, and I have an EcoJohn incinerator. The EcoJohn incinerator is a fantastic toilet. However, only would recommend using that if you were plugged into grid full time. It does draw a lot of power. I bought it literally to test it, to say hey, will this work in an off-grid situation? It's a full electric. It's not the propane style. It is actually behind the Laveo dry flush. It's actually vented, so that's what it's supposed to do. You have to vent it to the exterior, and so that's already in. It's good to go. There's actually an outlet back there that's also good to go for that EcoJohn. I did run it once. It just drained the crap out of my batteries. All of the tile in here is a waterproof, 100% waterproof vinyl tile, as well as the floor. The flooring is all vinyl, waterproof, plank flooring. I have a dimmer switch obviously in the bathroom as well. And then for an added touch, I put in these lights that is a cool white light that, if you wanted to get your makeup done or something there against it, you have a natural light as well in the shower, just in this area back here. I'm sorry to save this to the very end, but I feel like it's kind of necessary because this is temperature control and there's a lot to kind of go into this. I have not seen a tiny house go into the extent of detail that I have, or money that is spent on temperature controls. My heating and air conditioning system. I talked about having a cruise and comfort already for the air conditioner. Custom made a 4-foot ducting is functional, and the evaporator actually sits inside of that, but that runs from a compressor and also goes through a fan that is below the tiny house. So the cruise and comfort system is actually a mini split system. It's just a low voltage. It's a 48 volt. If you were to put like a Mitsubishi Electric or a Pioneer or something like that in a tiny house, you have that exterior, box thing that's your fans, and then you have your interior unit that is kind of just plasticky, and in my opinion the heating element of that doesn't work as great as the air conditioning part of it. Instead of going with all of that, I went with the cruise and comfort air conditioner, and then I separated the heater as a Van Life Tech system. Now this pad for the Van Life Tech, it also controls the air conditioning system all on one pad here. Now it's called Van Life Tech and I have it in a tiny house, but they are known to be a inside of any mobile vessel, so they can put them inside of vans, they can put them inside of tiny houses, buses. What is so special about this heating system? Well, again, like I was saying, it is a 12-volt heating system. There's diesel that is attached to the tongue of the vehicle, or the tongue of the tiny house. It sips diesel. I think on full tilt, which it's never on, it burns about 1 gallon per 24 hours. I've got a 58-gallon tank on the front of this tiny house. In the floor is 300 feet of tubing, and it's PEX tubing, and it's all filled with a non-toxic glycol, from what he told me. 300 feet of tubing heats up, and that radiates the floor. Why is that so nice to have? First of all, you have nice, warm, toasty floors. Then radiates into everything else that is really touching the floor. So all of my cabinetry, my couch, my clothing that is underneath my couch, all of that is heated. All of that is connected to the radiant floor. That is the primary stage. There is a second stage in there that is a forced air blower. So this is also a thermostat. And then there's also a sensor in the floor to tell me how hot the floor is. And then there's obviously an outside sensor to tell me what the outside temperature is. Best part about all this is it's Wi-Fi connected. I'm connected to my Starlink internet. The Starlink internet is satellite, obviously. I have no idea how this tour is gonna be because I have actually never done a tour like this. I usually have a videographer that's usually asking me a bunch of questions, just how I do my tours. Hopefully, I gave all the information that you possibly could want. If you are interested in the tiny house, please, you can email me. My email will be below. I will pin a comment that will also say if it is sold or if it's still for sale, and I'll actually put a link to the listing to wherever it may go. And I have a full 3-page PDF file giving all the detailed information about the entire tiny house. I am revamping my website, so the entire website will be all cleaned up within the next 2 months. There have been a lot of people asking me, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? That will be determined on whether or not my house sells. If it does for the price that I want it to. I am planning on moving back to the West Coast because all of my work and everything that I do is predominantly on the West Coast. So I'm looking into different cities to move into the West Coast. I will likely be building another overlanding rig because I really miss my Jeep. However, for the next several months, probably until October, I plan on going back into van life. I will be traveling in the van collaboration build that I talked about at the beginning of the video with Sandy Van, and I'll be going to a bunch of events. My goal is to hit 10 to 15, maybe even 20 different events this year. As many events as I go to, because I love going to them. I love meeting people. I love answering the questions that need to be answered. I love showing you guys what is possible, what isn't possible, etc., etc., etc. So that is my goal for the entire summer. I really want to get back out there. I've been really missing it. I'll be honest with you guys. If it doesn't sell, what do you do then? I have a couple different options. I actually might be Airbnb-ing this. So regardless, the van life travels will more than likely happen. It just depends on the length of it, whether or not I am full-time in the van or I go back and forth to my house, or I maybe even keep the house on the East Coast and Airbnb it out this way. So we will see what happens. I don't know. You guys can find out by just following my vlogs per weekly. All right, guys, I will see you guys next time. Later.
I could conquer the night if I can make it.